I want you to know that I am placing myself in a position of danger by openly exposing the Masonic Lodge, because those who do so at their own peril. I am not doing this because I want to be a hero or a martyr. I'm doing it because I have to. So if you hear about my suicide because I decided to fly from the top of a 16-story building, please be advised in advance that I did not do that. Or if you read that my car caught fire because my carburetor exploded, my carburetor is fine, thank you. In other words, I did not commit suicide. And the reason that I will not commit suicide is because I believe that only God can take life. I want you to know that those who believe in the ancient mystery religion do not have a similar concern. They believe that murder is acceptable if it protects the secret. So if you believe in the power of prayer, may I suggest that you commit me in prayer to the Creator God of the universe. I am not too proud to ask for prayer because I believe that prayer is simply what is protecting me even today. I would now like to return to my discussion of the Masonic Lodge. The Masons are also concealing a secret from the public. Carl Claudy, a 33rd degree Mason, has written this: "He who hears but the words of Freemasonry misses their meaning entirely." I'm going to show you just what the words of the Masons conceal. One of those secrets inside the Masonic Lodge is that there are two layers inside the Brotherhood. Manly P. Hall wrote this: "Freemasonry is a fraternity within a fraternity, an outer organization concealing an inner brotherhood of the elect. It is necessary to establish the existence of these two separate yet interdependent orders, the one visible and the other invisible. The visible society is a splendid camaraderie of free and accepted men, enjoined to devote themselves to ethical, educational, fraternal, patriotic, and humanitarian concerns. The invisible society is a secret fraternity. Notice that there are two layers inside the Masonic lodges. If one is quote, enjoined to patriotic and humanitarian concerns, unquote, what is the other one enjoined to? It must not be patriotic and humanitarian, or they wouldn't need to form it. They are saying that the second layer must be anti-patriotic and anti-humanitarian. It must be, or there would be no need to create the second layer. So to make the point once again, the Masonic Lodge has two layers inside, those who know the secret and those who do not. And that secret layer is concealed inside the Masonic Lodge in part by the use of a coded language. Once those who study the Masonic Lodge break the code, they can understand a great deal about the Masonic Lodge. I'd like to refer once again to Albert Pike the Mason, because he taught his readers a simple but very profound Masonic truth on the bottom of page 324 of his book entitled Morals and Dogma. This is what he wrote: "What is superior is as that which is inferior, and what is below is as that which is above, to form the marvels of unity." What that means is that everything the Masons say in public is just the opposite to what is the truth. Mr. Pike amplified this comment in his second book entitled Legenda. He wrote, "What is below, you have already heard us say, equals or resembles what is above. What is above equals or resembles what is below." Once you understand this, then you have broken the code of Masonic language. We can then find out what that secret is that the secret layer inside the lodge is concealing from their brother Masons. You can see this principle at work in a drawing used inside a key Masonic book, and this is that book entitled A Bridge to Light. This is another of the official books of the Masonic Lodge because it was published by the Grand Council of the 33rd degree in Washington, D.C. This is a picture of the author, Rex Hutchins, a 33rd degree Mason. Notice that Mr. Hutchins is seated, shown in the right here, on the lower right, beneath the portrait of Albert Pike. I believe that this picture is telling us that Mr. Hutchins greatly admires Mr. Pike because he is seated at his feet. In his book, Mr. Hutchins published this picture. It appears to be the picture of two kings, one the reflection of another, but of the other rather. But first of all, notice the figure of the snake around the entire picture. Notice that it is biting its tail, which is a symbol of eternity. We will see other examples of this symbol later on in this lecture. Now here's another example of the snake biting its tail. This is the seal of the Library Association of Portland, Oregon. I do not know why they chose to select this symbol on the inside cover of their books, but we can plainly see that they did. Perhaps the answer was given in a book written by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky called The Secret Doctrine. She wrote this on page 364. The serpent has ever been the symbol of the adept and his powers of divine knowledge. So the serpent is a symbol with a hidden meaning. Once again now, this is the picture of the two kings. Notice that the artist used a snake to make a point. The snake is a worldwide symbol of another god, and we shall discuss that later. Then notice that the picture appears once again to be of a king or god looking at the viewer above what appears to be his reflection in a pool. The original artist on this drawing was Eliphas Levi in his book, and here's the picture of Mr. Book, and his book was entitled Master of Occultism. On one of the unnumbered pages inside his book, he shows the same picture of the two-headed god, and he said that the figure was that of a god. Most people see the picture and do not examine it carefully enough, and they go on to other things. But Mr. Pike is saying that we must examine what the Masons say with great clarity. We must look more carefully. And if you do look more carefully at the picture, you will first notice that everything changes in color from the top drawing to the bottom. For instance, notice that the king's shirt that is black in the top drawing becomes white in the bottom picture, and that his banner around his neck changes from white to black. I think this is the close-up of the face on the top. There you can see the snake biting its tail. Now this is the entire drawing flipped over. Yeah, there it is. Meaning that the bottom half of the drawing is now on the top. In other words, the bottom is now on the top, and the top is now on the bottom. And let's take a close-up look at the god on the bottom, now shown on the top, and there it is. Somehow, I don't think that's the same king that we saw a few minutes ago. It looks like the king that they're really worshiping is really a demon. In other words, that which is on top is as that which is on the bottom. According to Albert Pike, if we reverse things, we discover the real truth of the Masonic Lodge. We think the Masons are worshiping a good God, but the truth is that they are in reality worshiping a demon. We, the public, do not examine things carefully enough, and because we do not, they are able to conceal truths from us. Notice that when you reverse things, everything becomes clear, because Pike wrote, that which is above is that which is below. We think the Masons worship the God of the Bible, but Albert Pike said that we were to reverse things, and when we did, we would see the truth. We will see that Masons worship a demon. We don't examine what the Masons are saying in enough detail. Most people in America know nothing at all about the Masonic Lodge. But what little we do know is generally good. Most of us have friends, relatives, and business associates who belong to the Masonic Lodge. And I would say that this is the general perception of those who know anything at all about the Masons. They love their country, their God, and their family. And we can discover that the Masons claim to be just that. The 33rd Degree Council in Washington, D.C. prints a magazine called the New Age magazine. The name of this magazine has recently been changed to the Scottish Rite Journal, perhaps because of all the negative press the New Age religion has been getting recently. I'd like to have you look at 4 articles that I have found in several of these magazines. I believe they will reveal the truth about what the Masons truly believe. Remember the principle of reversal as told to us by Albert Pike. This is the first article we're going to examine. The headline reads, God Bless America. Most people think that this means that the Masons worship the God of the Bible. But if you remember the principle of reversal, you will find that they worship another God. And I shall attempt to reveal to you just who this other God is. It is definitely not the God of the Bible. We think that they worship this kindly old king, and in truth, the Masons worship this demon. The second article is entitled Preserving the Constitution. I want you to know that the inner core of the Masons do not wish to preserve the Constitution. In fact, as I discussed in my Happy 4th of July speech, the Masons among the founding fathers of this nation actually subverted the very document that they wrote. Masons do not wish to preserve the Constitution because Masons wish to destroy it. I will continue to examine this as I continue with this discussion. The third article is entitled George Washington, an Example to Follow. It is well known inside historical circles that George Washington was a public member of the Masons. This is a picture of our president in his Masonic apron, wearing Masonic square and compass around his neck and other signs of his membership on him. It is commonly known that he was a member, as I said. He was very visible and frequently appeared in Masonic attire in public. For instance, this is a drawing of the President laying the cornerstone of the United States Capitol building on September the 18th, 1793. Notice that he is dressed in his Masonic attire and that most of the men around him are dressed as Masons as well. But President Washington was not an example for other Masons to follow. He wrote a letter. Apparently that slide didn't come down. Let's see if we can get that one to come back up now. Up, it won't come down. Hold on, let me push this button. Let it cycle. Well, something happened to the bottom slide. Well, we're missing a slide there, and we'll stick with this one. The next one won't come down. He wrote a letter on September the 25th, 1798, just a short time before he died, in which he said, I have to correct an error you have run into of my presiding over the English lodges in this country. And now we'll read this slide. The fact is that I preside over none, nor have I been in one more than once or twice within the last 30 years. It doesn't seem that President Washington was a very good Mason because the Masons encourage lodge attendance. But the Masons remind the American people of their pride in the fact that President Washington was a Mason. By the way, it is interesting to note that they failed to mention that Benedict Arnold, another American general, like General Washington, was a traitor to the cause of the American Revolution, and this man, Benedict Arnold, was also a Mason. It seems that the Masons are very selective about which general they wish to acknowledge and which general they wish to forget. And let me tell you this, Jesse James, the famous outlaw, was also a 33rd degree Mason. So the Masons are very selective about who they wish to acknowledge as an example to show us. The fraud and lies about the Masons extends into the public perception of them as well. I'm certain most Americans have heard about the Shriners. Most of us have seen them on motorcycles or on horses in public parades. For instance, this is a group of the Tucson Shriners dressed as clowns taking children for a ride around a hospital. This is typical of the image we have of what they do. We've heard about their sponsorship of the annual East-West Shrine football game, or we've attended their shrine circuses in our hometown, or we've heard about their 19 orthopedic hospitals and 3 burn hospitals for children. But all of this is a cover, as I will now prove. This is a 1986 newspaper article that reports that only 1/3 of their money raised goes to charities. Once again, that slide is out of order. 2/3 are kept by them. Only 1% of their profits for the shrine circuses goes for the care of children. And to show you that the Masons use the circuses as a fundraiser for their own activities, this is a book put out by the Shriners in Tucson. On page 11 of that book, this is what they tell us. The Shriners admit in their own literature, we all know the dues we pay each year are not sufficient to enable us to have the beautiful mosque we have. That's their temple. And to also carry on the labors and activities that contribute to a successful year of constructive accomplishments. Therefore, it is necessary for the temple to find some other sources of revenue. Traditionally, the Shrine Circus is the most important fundraising project that we carry out. Notice that the Shriners admit